Okay, welcome everybody today to our monthly webinar using WhisperClaims to prepare R&D tax claims in-house. This is a demo for accountants and advisors who are preparing claims on behalf of their clients. For those of you who do not know us, we are WhisperClaims. We are software and support designed specifically for accountants and advisors, as I said, preparing claims on behalf of their clients. We work with a wide range of firms, from those handling claims regularly to those who maybe only dip into R&D tax a few times a year, and increasingly firms who maybe used to offer R&D tax and are now reassessing how comfortable they feel staying out of those sorts of conversations with their clients. At our core, we focus on structure, control, and consistency in claim preparation to make sure that firms' internal processes can smoothly support rule shifts. We've seen lots of those, maybe staff changes within teams, or if HMRC have questions about a claim. Requirements like pre-notification, the additional information form, and the merge scheme have made inconsistency in approach to claim preparation much more visible. And that's where firms can maybe start to lose confidence, even if they understand the rules perfectly well. We don't prepare claims ourselves, but through our sales function and our customer advice line, we speak to accountants and advisors every week about real live claims, what's working, where uncertainty sort of creeps in, and where old approaches are no longer quite holding. We use that insight to shape both the software and the educational resources that we push out, whether that's on pre-notification, on AI, or more niche areas like NI Iris and grants, which we've covered more recently. And we are willing to dive into any topic our audience asks of us, or where there's, we identify where there's maybe some more distilling down or more information that could warrant a deeper discussion if it's useful. But today's session is very deliberately a software demo, and the purpose of it isn't really just to show features. It's to walk you through what a defensible, repeatable in-house R&D process looks like in practice, and let you decide whether that gives you more confidence than where you are today, whether you're scaling up or just getting started or thinking about relaunching a service. Jen's going to start by setting a bit more context around who we are and some of the recent changes to the scheme and their impact. And then I'm going to walk you through the app itself. We'll finish off with plenty of time for a Q&A if you've got any questions. I might be sharing some resources in the chat, and we don't want to miss anything. So please drop those questions in the Q&A box as we go, and we'll get to them a bit later on. But for now, over to you, Jen.
Thanks, Suze. Yeah, so as Sue says, I think we've got our instructions done. So I'm going to talk through some of the difficulties and challenges that our clients talk about and kind of give you some context around how WhisperClaims can help with that. And I'll pass back to Suze for the demo, and then we will have a bit of a Q&A if anyone has any questions. First of all, really just give you a quick picture of who currently uses our software and our services. So we really get new clients from one of two places. We're either working with people who are already preparing claims and are looking for more structure, more consistency, help with making sure that they're going through the right claims at the moment, all that kind of thing. They just want that helping hand and that structure brought in. Or we work with people who are introducing this as a brand new service, so looking to launch this within their firm, and really have a helping hand when they're engaging those clients in deeper conversations around R&D, but with the background of a structured process and the help that brings. And we do find that they lean quite hard on our advice line for support, so we can really help people launch that service, learn as they go, and work out all the fun nuances and interesting things you can get to with the R&D scheme. And then obviously all of this, as Suze alluded to, is against the really changed landscape we're all now working in. I've changed this recently from a changing landscape to changed. I think we are hopefully at a point where things are a bit more stable. Obviously, there's huge considerations now for claims around claim notification forms, whether you're treating overseas costs correctly, or have you got all the information in additional information form? Should you be claiming through the merge scheme, or should it be an old scheme? So there's a huge amount that any advisor has to think about for every single claim they do, and especially at the moment where we're still juggling older scheme claims and the new merge scheme claims. There's so much to think about and so many decisions to be made as you go. So one thing we do here is people are looking for consistency, especially across teams where there's more than one person preparing claims. We hear that what they're seeing, especially with increased compliance activity for HMRC, that without that consistency, there's an increased risk. If one person in the team isn't preparing claims the same quality as someone else, and there's no oversight of that, you can see an increase in risk and increase in inquiries. Information is also missed potentially. So claims aren't, I hate to use the word maximised because that's not what any of us should be doing, but projects are missed, information is missed, claims get delayed because we don't have information about, for example, subcontractors because there's not a consistent process. So they say the questions aren't asked in the right way every single time. So WhisperClaims really was designed to give you a structured way to prepare claims, making sure that the right question is asked at the right time every single time that a claim is done. And you never get to the point, for example, of filling out the AIF, filling out the CT600 without having all the information you need and without having thought about all of the aspects of the claim that need to be thought about. We have our support suite. So one of the major things we're asked about at the moment is, am I choosing the right scheme and have I done my claim notification at the right time? So we have 3 real ways that we support our clients. Our dynamic question set actually we feel is a very supportive way we do this. So the app actually directs you down the right claim route every single time. So if you put in the correct information, it will tell you whether you're an SME scheme claim, a merged scheme claim, an ERIS claim, a Northern Irish ERIS claim, and will give you the logic of why that decision has been made. And you're also only asked relevant questions. So for example, if you put in a client into the app and it detects that the client is in Northern Ireland, you'll be asked the questions that need to be asked if it's a Northern Irish ERIS claim. You won't be asked those if it's not a Northern Irish company. So we tried to ask the minimum number of questions to get all the information that's needed. There's also in-app support. So for every single question, we've got a video explanation of how to answer the question. We've also got bits of background and links to HMRC's guidance so that you can understand why that question is being asked of you. And then we do have our experts. So we can be contacted by phone, live chat, or email anytime as a working day. And we can help and support with any query from aspects of the SME scheme, or the R&D schemes through to, I don't know why this question is asked here. The app's not working for me. This hasn't worked, that kind of thing. So in that, as I say, there's a lot of discussion at the moment about whether we've chosen the right schemes, whether they've got the claim notification form right, but also we have a lot of chats about eligibility, sort of likelihood when going into a client, of finding eligibility, even discussing projects and whether they're likely to fit HMRC criteria. We do some chat about working at SME status, for example. We do a lot of chat about why the question is asked in a certain way, and why that question is even being asked overall. It's not always obvious at the beginning of a claim why you would need to know, for example, the P&L position of the company, but obviously that feeds into several other aspects of the claim. And we have a lot of people who check with us about R&D intensity. They've maybe either expected a claim to come out as being an R&D intensive claim or not, and it's explaining how the app has got to that. So there's a huge amount of support there. That really helps you make sure that you go down the right route and the right claim every time. We also hear that it is, and I know this because I used to be a consultant in a former life, that working with your client is the biggest challenge of doing any R&D claim, getting that information out of your client, getting them to review it, and just generally working with them and getting them to engage with it. And that's why from the very beginning we built what we call our collaborator feature. So with this, you can give your clients access to the app. They can use that to fill out all the questions, fill out some of the questions, provide information, or just review the information you've added. But it makes it a far more collaborative process between you and your client, even though you're using software to do it. We've got flagging and we've got notes, so you can indicate to your clients which questions need further information. You can add notes to explain why you think that, or you can add notes to explain why you've answered it the way you have so that your client can understand their own claim. And through all of that, you retain the control. So collaborators and clients only see a subset of the questions. They only bit that's relevant to them. They can't finish a claim. So you are the ones that have the control to decide when it's finished. All the information's there and you're happy with it. But they can contribute to it and actively participate in putting that claim together. And obviously linked to that is gathering information for a claim and making sure that you have all of the information for a claim. And again, if we were to ask about what upsets our clients most, this is one of those. I counted the other day, just because I was interested, and the additional information form needs over 50 different pieces of information for every claim. Obviously, if there's more projects, that increases. For a very, very simple claim, that may be slightly less, but it's still over 50 different things that you need to know and answers you need to give when you're filling out the information form for every single claim you do. So it is a challenge having all that ready and at your fingertips when filling out an AIF. I think we all know that also you only have 28 days to fill it out. So if you are missing something and have to go back to your client and they don't go back to you quickly, all the work you've done could disappear before you get back to it. So having a central place like WhisperClaims to gather all that information and know for sure that you have it all. Our app won't let you finish a claim and start doing the AIF if you don't have all the information. So it makes sure that you have everything you need every single time, and you're not going to find yourself filling out the AIF and going, oh, I don't know if they're subject to the PAYE cap and why they'd be exempt from it, for example. And the final thing we do is making sure that we filter out ineligible claims. We've always, from the very beginning, been determined that nobody will pay us money for a claim that isn't valid. And they also won't waste their time on claims that aren't invalid. So, for example, our app will stop you if the claim is timed out. It's the first one you'd come up against. So if the claim isn't valid anymore, if it's gone past the 2 years where you could actually submit it, we won't allow you to continue. If the company's not an entity that could claim R&DTax relief, we'll stop you. If the claim notification form, if you tell us you haven't submitted it in the right window, again, you'll be stopped producing the claim. The other one I could think of off the top of my head was that if there's no competent professionals, we'll stop you. But there are actually, I think, somewhere around 11 or 12 points through the system where if you answer the questions in a particular way, we will stop you preparing that claims before you waste any time, before you've done elaborate project descriptions, and before you've spent any money with us. Because we want to make sure that you have that power of no with your client, you're able to tell them why the claim isn't valid, and you're also not wasting time and money on a claim that can't proceed. I think now I'm going to hand back to Sue, who'll take you through the software.
Thanks, Jen. Just give us a sec to switch screens over. I'll just reshare my screen. Okay. You just give me a thumbs up, Jen, that you can see that. Okay, excellent, thank you. Okay, so given everything that Jen has just talked through, as she said, things hopefully have stabilized now, but after all of the legislative change, having a way to structure, de-risk and deliver R&DTax claims with confidence and efficiency is really handy. And I'm going to show you how WhisperClaims makes that possible. And no doubt I'm going to be reiterating some of the points that Jen's just made there, but with the app in front of us to bring that all to life. So let me show you how that happens. So what you can see in front of you here is your home screen. From anywhere you are in the app, you have access to us, as Jen's already said. If I just click on this little icon here, you've got access to us via phone and email, and you also have a live chat bubble once you're logged into the accounts at the bottom right of your screen here, where you can engage with us directly as well. As Jen's already said, you can ask us anything from scheme-related queries, or if you have clients that maybe got a couple of projects and you're worried that one's a bit borderline and you're worried about the amount of eligibility that there is and you just want to bounce some, that off us and get some advice, that is what we're here to help you do, as well as Jen said as well, just here for the usual software type queries that we have. We also have a customer WhatsApp group as well, where we have our clients sharing real-time, real-life situations that they're finding themselves in, and we have a really supportive group that generally pile in very quickly with lots of help and advice for their colleagues and peers. In terms of admin, I'll really quickly show you, we've got an admin section, which is where you do admin things like setting up your 2FA, adding user permissions, viewing invoices. If you want to go a bit more advanced and do things like change the look and feel of your report, maybe you've got specific brand guidelines that you need to adhere to, you want to add your company logo, you can do all of that here in the admin section. But let's move into a claim so that I can show you, as I said, reflect some of the stuff that Jen's just been talking about. Okay, so this is the start of what a claim looks like. This is a pre-prepared claim based on a very simple merge scheme opportunity, just to demonstrate today's session. So What's really important is to mention that embedded within the core of WhisperClaims is what we call our compliance engine that dynamically assesses your claim path based on specific signals, for example, the accounting period. And also another example is the company number, which will flag if, let's say, for example, you're working with a Northern Ireland company, and then that will lead you down to the NI scheme. The app is constantly flexing to ensure that users are routed down the correct scheme path, that grants and company structure impact checks are carried out, that project write-up requirements are fully covered off to meet the requirements of the AIF, as well as building the report in the background, that you're aware of pre-notification requirements, whether they've been met or not, before you get too deep into a claim, and that key information like the identification of competent professionals and their experience and qualifications is clearly captured and presented back to HMRC in the report. You are guided through a series of questions, which I'm just expanding out here on the sidebar, just the navigation tab here. And you've got a couple of very distinct sections that you work through. You've got your qualification checks, you've got your project section, you've got your costs, and then you've got your project write-ups. And as Jen's already alluded to, we embed risk assessment throughout the process. We've got dynamic feedback that you can just see me demonstrating here on the screen that alerts you if there is a potential issue, or in this case, a hard stop. This is just a very simple example. And this is what Jen was talking about by giving you clear visibility of any issues. And these risk assessments are embedded early on in the process. So the idea being that you don't go all the way through to the end of the process and then identify that the claim maybe isn't valid. As Jen said, that's what we call the power of no, which can be really useful. It's obviously disappointing if you're working with a client and you find out that they don't have a claim, but it's really important. And the value here isn't that the questions that we're asking are super clever, it's that they're consistent, that everybody is being taken down the same path, the same logic, based on the same rules every single time, which means that you can be confident that you're not relying on the experience of one person doing a claim. So, for example, if a team member needs to pick up a partially prepared claim, or if HMRC have questions downstream, you can explain why a particular route was followed and why specific decisions have been made, because that logic is built in and can be clearly evidenced. Jen mentioned collaboration and notes and flagging and things like that. So I'm just flicking through some of the screens just to give you an idea of what the system looks like. Once you've got through the qualification checks, you are able to access collaborator functionality, which I'll just quickly show you what that looks like. Our collaborator function allows you, as Jen said, to bring your clients into the app. I'd say more historically than more recently. Some of the prospects that we've spoken to have not necessarily loved the idea of this level of interaction within the app. It can be quite Marmite. Some firms we've talked to are concerned about maybe losing control of the process once their clients are involved. However, others see it as a really invaluable feature, and is a much better way to be able to work more closely with their clients, and they're more likely to keep them engaged and more likely to make sure that the process keeps moving in the right direction. Another huge positive of being able to collaborate directly with your clients, whether it's in-app or giving them access through your screen, whether you're working on a Zoom call or side by side in an office, is to demonstrate transparency. So being able to clearly demonstrate to clients the expectations of a claim, as well as the level of complexity of a claim, it can be really powerful, especially for clients that maybe think that a claim is just putting a few numbers in a box, or perhaps they think that they're far more eligible than they are. WhisperClaims makes it really easy and is deliberately designed to make sure that you stay in control of the claim, so that your collaborators only see what's relevant to them and can't finalise anything. You decide when a claim is complete, so that creates a really clear line between information coming in and your judgment. Okay. In terms of the notes and flagging that Jen mentioned, every question that you're on, you can potentially flag that, and I'll show you what that looks like here. So you can see flags appearing in the navigation bar, which means that you can easily go back to questions that are maybe of concern, or maybe there's more information that's needed. And Jen's already mentioned the notes section as well, which you can see here. This is an area where you can leave notes for internal team members, or also notes for your collaborators as well. As Jen said, it can be there for maybe when you're reviewing claims internally, maybe you're wanting to ensure that your client has is going to provide a certain amount of information, or maybe it's there for a justification for why a question's been answered in a particular way. The next big section, as I said, is the project section. This is a walkthrough to gather information about the work that your client's been undertaking over the period, prompting conversations to help steer both you and your client, as well as ensuring that you're collecting all of the information and data that you need to meet the claim criteria, which can then impact on some of the questions that are being asked further downstream. This is the competent professional question that Jen was mentioning earlier on. Some of the questions that you may be asked downstream are to do with, say, things like overseas costs. So yeah, that's just examples of how that part of the app looks. In terms of the next big part of the section of the app is the costs, where you have now the ability to capture all of the eligible spend relating to your client's claim. The first question you get asked about is staff costs. Here you can see that you have functionality which makes it really easy for you to upload your client data to save time manually inputting information, and our dynamic compliance engine in the background will be flexing depending on the claim route to make sure that you're only including costs that are eligible for the claim that you're in. I'll just show you a couple of the other screens where costs are captured. So for example, the next stage would be your staff apportionments and so on, and as you can see there, you can upload those costs using a CSV upload tool as well to make everything much easier. Once you've completed the cost section, you're then presented with a table that is essentially allowing you to easily assess how expenditure has been distributed across all of the projects that you've captured. This part of the process comes at the end of the cost section and before the project write-up. As I mentioned earlier on, and Jen's mentioned a couple of times, we're trying to help keep you really efficient, and we want to minimize the amount of time you and or your client needs to spend writing detailed full-on project descriptions. Of course, if you choose to, you can provide detailed write-ups for all projects that are being included in a claim. Some advisors will prefer to do that, but if you identify at this point here in the output that maybe one or more projects only represents a really tiny proportion of the overall spend, and you know, you've got enough total eligible spend per your other projects to get you through to the AIF, then it just means that rather than writing everything up in full, you can focus on the big projects and just retain detailed notes for the smaller claims, should there be any questions or queries asked later on downstream. Once you've decided which projects you're going to write up in full, you're then taken through to our project descriptions section. Let me just close that down for a sec, which is a clearly defined template, ensuring that you are capturing all of the details that the AIF is going to be looking for the form. So you've got your competent professional, you've got your field of science and technology, which is pulled through from a previous question earlier on in the process, your start and end dates, and then the 4 key areas that you need to explain in more detail: your baseline, your technical advance, your uncertainties, and then also your resolutions. And you can also attach images to the project as well. The big purple band that you can see running over the top of the screen there is some functionality that we integrated within the app last year, offering essentially real-time feedback on the project narratives. So the project narratives are the only part of the app where we've implemented AI functionality at the moment. The AI feedback does take about a minute to pull through, so this one's already been done. I didn't want to show you that in real time because that'd be very boring for you to sit there watching a screen buffering, and just to demonstrate and just give you a feel for what it looks like. The AI feedback offers advice for improvements and identifying gaps. It's looking for both whether you've answered everything HMRC will be looking for, in terms of, say, uncertainties and advances, but it's also looking at language that you're using, both grammatically and also making sure that, for example, you're not veering off into talking about commercial details of a project, and you're sticking very much to, the R&D side of things. This is a really exciting evolution for our technology, but there are a couple of things to remember. This feature is optional, so you don't have to use it if you don't want to, if you don't feel comfortable using it. And if you are using it, we do always say it's really important to bear in mind that you're still the expert advisor. So trust yourself and maintain your own judgment, because ultimately you and your client are the ones who are accountable for the information submitted on the claim to HMRC. Okay, so once the project descriptions have been input, it's then now time to review the claim. So if I just click on review here, you are going to be taken to our claim review summary, which is essentially your chance to stop and take a breath and make sure that everything makes sense before you finalise a claim. I'll take this in sections just because there's quite a lot of information on the screen. But one thing to point out at the top there is that you can see that once you're in review, any collaborators that you've invited onto the claim no longer have access to a claim. Obviously, the last thing that you would want is if you're in a position where you're ready to finalise, is that a collaborator's decided to log in and make some changes or updates. So they're blocked once you're in the review part of the process. If you move back in progress into the claim, they can then regain access if you need them to make any changes. So on this left-hand side, you've got essentially an output of all of the numerical data that's been input into the claim. I'll just gently scroll down so that you can see. You've got edit pens running down the middle of the screen there. So if, for example, you had some placeholder figures popped in or something that you know needs amending, all you need to do is click on the edit pen and that will take you directly back to the question that's relevant to that row. So that will enable you to quickly and easily make edits before you're ready to finalise the claim. On your right-hand side, you've got something that I've purposely made look horrible. This is our automated in-app claim risk assessments. It's based on a low, medium, or high score. And what the app is essentially doing is evaluating a variety of potential risk factors that may pique HMRC's interest. These risk factors are not there, or sorry, this whole assessment overall really is not there to be used as a measure of eligibility. It's here to help you determine and ensure that all your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed, and that you have the opportunity to double check anything that's been highlighted before moving forward. So, for example, SIC code is one of the variables that's identified here. It could be that you've got a client that sits in a SIC code that isn't usually considered to be eligible, but you're very confident that the work that they're doing is, or it could be something more administrative, like your client, her business was set up years and years and years ago, they've pivoted over time, and the SIC code that their company sits at in Companies House no longer reflects the work that they're doing. So that would be an admin change before you move forward to submit the claim. So you can see where the benefits are of having that flagged up front. Below that, further down the screen, you're going to see, depending on your price plan, this is an example of a core claim. We display how much the report fee is going to be before you download and pay. And we also give you the estimated eligible spend and tax benefits, which at this point is still allowing you to make some decisions between you and your client, like about how the benefit will be realised or how much you as the provider wants a fee for this type of work. It could be that it's a much bigger claim than you're expecting, or maybe a much smaller claim than you're expecting. So the point here being that at this point you still have choices. You've still not paid for the claim yet. You have the ability to rework things and make some decisions depending on what things feel and look like between you and your clients. And then very finally, once you're happy with everything, you get to experience what we call the wow moment. This is the bit where you can sit back and let the app take over and do all of the hard work in terms of pulling the report together. The app's going to lay out all of the client's data in a structured, a clear way, demonstrating to HMRC that all of the right questions have been asked and that care and due diligence has been taken throughout the process, and that guidelines have been adhered to. Before you download, if you want to, you do have the opportunity to interact with one of our additional paid for services. This is our claim review service. So unlike the review on the previous page, which is automated and obviously has strict parameters into what it is and isn't looking like, our claim review service is a deep dive desk-based review done by our in-house expert team of R&DTax consultants here, looking at all of the publicly available information about the firm that's claiming, doing a full review of the narrative, a full review of the costs, and just giving you hints, tips and advice as to whether there are any improvements that can be made. And you get a report, a PDF report with all of the advice clearly laid out. You also then obviously have the opportunity to go back into the claim and make any edits or amendments before refinalising and re-downloading if you want to. Once you hit download, you are then exposed to 3 documents. The first one being the additional information form output, which has been prepared in the background as you've been going through, working through the claim. The app has been gathering all of the answers to the questions you need for the AIF portal, and of course the finalised report as well, which will be attached and submitted with the CT 600. I'll just pull the report up very quickly just so that you can get a brief look at how that is laid out. And then I'm going to very quickly switch my screen over just to show you what the AIF output looks like as well, just so that you can get a feel for how that is displayed. Let me just quickly stop sharing. I'll get the AIF output up quickly just to show you that. Just here. So this is, unlike the report, this is a very simple text-based file. And as you can see, it splits into sections with all of the relevant answers to the questions that you're going to be asked when you're filling out the AIF portal. It's a very simple text file rather than a Word file, very much on purpose, so that as you're copying and pasting from the AIF into the HMRC portal, you are not introducing any additional characters that could then make things go a bit wiggy in the portal. And also just to mention, at the bottom of this file, we also give you the background calculations to the way that the benefits and eligible spend has been calculated, so that you can review that as well if you've got any questions or queries about how that has been done. Let me just quickly go back to the app because I very quickly want to show you. I've mentioned being able to go back into a claim. Once you have downloaded a claim, you do, of course, have the opportunity as many times as you need to. You can go over this iteration as many times as you want. That's a claim I've just gone through there, to come in and unlock the claim if there's maybe a spelling mistake, or you've gone through a review with your client and you've identified some areas that need some changes or some questions that need to be answered in a slightly different way. All you need to do is come into your dashboard, click on edit, and you can unlock your claim, which will take you back into the question sets. And the beauty of this and being able to go through this iteration process is that you don't need to worry about version control, because every time you go through the unlocking a claim, editing, refinalizing and re-downloading, the app is going to make sure that you're only served with the most relevant documents with all of the most up-to-date changes that you have there. So that's me done for the minute. I'm just going to hand back over to Jen for the pricing. Before we do, actually, I suppose it's probably worth mentioning that we do get asked quite a lot from our customers about fees and how our customers fee for this type of work. And you might be amazed to hear that many now customers that came to us initially said that they were offering this type of work for free. So I suppose when you can show and demonstrate that claims are being prepared through this very sort of structured and repeatable process, with eligibility considered, risks surfaced, and decisions documented, it becomes a lot easier for you to justify your fee. You know, you're no longer charging for spending time writing a narrative from scratch. You're charging for this very professional process that reduces risk and protects your firm and stands up to scrutiny, and that's really powerful. That's me done, Jen.
Remembering to unmute. Thanks, Suze. So yeah, just a quick mention of our pricing. So we have two different pricing models. One is our core pricing. So you would pay £100 a month for a monthly subscription, and then £625 or maximum £625 every time you download a claim. So this model is used by clients that aren't doing many claims, or for those clients that prefer to pay for a claim at the point where they're billing their client for that claim, so they can link those two costs together in their cash flow. But it works really well for anyone that wants to either have control over when they pay for claims overall, or who are only doing a few claims a year. We also have our Smart Save option. I have noticed that that price is wrong as I'm looking at this. That £625 is incorrect. It's actually £229 a month for up to 5 claims per annum. So we can talk to you about how many claims you think you're likely to do, and give you a price based on that, and then spread that out over a year. So we tend to find that our clients that do more claims per year prefer that as an option, just because it allows them to spread the costs through the year. But obviously it starts at 5 claims a year, so it is suitable for anyone doing more than just a couple. No matter how you pay us, you get the advice line, automated risk review, the WhatsApp group. You can pay for the claim review service, and you can access all of our webinars, training courses, everything else we offer. So there's no difference in service between the two pricing models. Yeah, and we do offer a free trial. So you get 1 month free access to the app, 1 free claim download, report download, and 1 free claim review, and unlimited access to the advice line during that first month. So that's worth up to £975. plus VAT. So that gets you, we want you to really try out the app, have a good play with it, and really feel that this is the right thing for you. We find that either clients will do, they've got a claim in their back pocket ready to do, and they'll run that through, or we do find quite often people will use that free claim as an opportunity to run through a previous claim they've done just to make sure that everything comes out the same. So you can kind of validate everything the app is doing for free during that trial period. So does anyone have any questions for us?
Everyone's been very quiet today.
That's fine. While we're just waiting for anyone to think of any questions they have, I will say that we do have some plans for some new development. We want to develop out the kind of claims management side of the app. So at the moment, our developers are working on giving you more visibility of the overall kind of the metadata about a claim. We're giving you the ability to upload files and then view them separately so you can see what information is actually used to put the claim together. And as part of that, we're going to refresh some of our reports and outputs because they're not quite suitable for, they're perfectly fine at the moment. They are suitable for purpose, but they could be better. So we're going to be nuancing that, pulling in a little bit more public data, that kind of thing, just to take a little bit more of the burden off our users and doing it ourselves. So there's always development, there's always new things happening. As we keep saying, it's really lovely right now being able to build things that our clients have asked for, that we've had in our backlog for a long time, but that have been pushed out of the way by having to keep up with HMRC's legislation. So it's really nice to have got through this phase of chasing the legislation and trying to keep up and make sure that we are completely compliant. But I can happily say that that's where we are now.
Yeah. And just in case anyone is still furiously typing to ask a question, just to let you know that our webinar, we do a kind of a thought leadership educational type webinar every month. What did we do last month or this month, Jan? I can't even remember now because we did IRIS and pre-notification.
Yeah, so this month we did a back to basics. We felt
Okay,
like we hadn't touched on actually the basics of eligibility, costs, putting a claim together. All the information we've been pushing out over the last year or so, really 2 or 3 years, has been on the changes and what that means and the impact of that. So it was actually really nice to go back, and it was a really well attended webinar just talking about, here's the basics, here's what hasn't changed. And that was really good to see. I can't remember what we're planning this month. I think we're going to talk about pre-notification again
yeah, link up. We're doing subcon.
Subcon
Yeah.
and overseas. As we're heading towards the end of March and there's more and more claims going through that are coming under the merge scheme, we wanted to really make sure that everyone knows what they're doing with subcontractor CWs and overseas costs, because obviously that is one of the biggest changes from the old schemes to the new schemes.
Sorry, my typing is terrible. I was just making sure that you can see that that was on the 11th of February at 12 noon. There will be an invite going out, which you will receive because you've attended a webinar before, everyone who's here today. But yes, we'd love to see you there if that's something that is of interest to you as well. Well, we have finished early, which is lovely for everyone because it means you go and get a bit more of your lunch break if that's what you were using to join us today. Thank you for joining us. We hope you found it useful. If you would like to have a bit more of a chat, maybe see the app in a bit more detail, discuss what a trial might look like, whether it's the right fit for you, please do get in touch. My contact details are in the chat just there. We'd love to talk to you. And of course, it's like if you walk away from something and you've got questions, please feel free to just drop us a message if there's something that you think of later downstream, and we're always very happy to answer that. But for today, thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon.